This WISE review will continue looking at the content area of credit, and we'll focus on the types of credit. First type of credit we're going to talk about is something called an installment loan, also known as a term loan. This is something that is the normal loan like you get for a house, maybe a car. Your student loans will be term loans, and even if you're just getting a loan of cash. The loan is for a specified term. That's why it's called a term loan. 3 years, 4 years, whatever it might be. You make equal monthly payments. Those payments are referred to as installments, and that's why they're called installment loans. The monthly payments will be based on several things. First off, how much are you borrowing? In other words, the principal. What's the length of the loan? In other words, the term. And thirdly, the interest rate. Those three numbers will determine what the monthly payment is. Now, there's a complex mathematical formula that's used to calculate that. You don't really need to worry about that because there are plenty of financial calculators out there that when you put in these three amounts, it will calculate what the monthly payment should be on that. So let's take a look at an example. If you have this vehicle here, if you want to borrow money on that, if you take a look, you'll see on shorter terms, the interest rates are lower, but the monthly payment tends to be higher. On the longer loan, the interest rate will actually be higher because the risk is being taken on for a longer period of time, but it will actually lower the monthly payment. However, you'll also see that the total paid will actually be a lot higher for the longer term loan. The other type of credit we're going to talk about is something called a revolving charge account. This is really just a credit card. It could be your basic regular credit cards, which you can use anywhere, or we're talking some maybe those store credit cards that you can get at those specific stores, and they can only be used in those stores. Credit cards have some common features. First off, they'll have a credit limit assigned. That's the maximum amount that you'll be able to charge on that credit card. You'll be able to make charges of varying amounts as long as you don't exceed your credit limit. You'll have a minimum payment due every month. That's normally somewhere around 2 to 2.5% of the unpaid balance. There will be finance charges associated with any unpaid balances. There may even be some additional charges for late payments or things along those lines. Now, both the regular credit cards and store credit cards are unsecured loans. There's no collateral, there's no asset that the creditor can come and seize in order to try to recoup some of the money that they lent you. And as a result, they're relatively highly risky for the lenders, and that'll be reflected in the interest rates. Credit cards, for the regular credit cards, the Visas, MasterCards, and such, range from maybe 5 to upwards of 20%. And those store credit cards, since they're very risky and they'll pretty much give those to anybody, will have interest rates of 20 to 25%, sometimes even higher than that. The Fair Credit Disclosure Act and the Truth in Lending Acts, as well as some other laws that have been passed, place certain burdens and restrictions on lenders. First off, when you're applying for a loan or any type of credit, they have to provide you this type of disclosure statement. It's going to very clearly and easily and legibly state, first, the annual percentage rate that you can anticipate having to pay on that loan or on that credit card. And here you see they show various rates that will be assigned based on what your credit history is. When you start paying interest, because they're also required to provide, you're required to have a grace period, normally about 21 days after the end of the billing cycle, that if you were to pay that debt off, as long as it was new debt, you would not have to pay any finance charges. Any carried over balances beyond those 21 days, you'll have to start paying finance charges on. They'll maybe talk about a minimum interest charge that you'll have as long as you have a balance. There may be some fees that you're going to have to pay, annual fees or something along those lines. Transaction fees, or in this case, cash advances, you'll have to pay an additional 3% on top of what the cash advance is, not including what you're actually going to pay as the finance charge on that should you carry those balances over month to month, and any penalty fees, late payment fees or return payment fees. They'll also tell you what balance they're going to use to calculate what your minimum payment should be. In this case, this is average daily balance. They're also required on your billing statements to not only tell you what your balance is and what the minimum payment is, but show the implications of if you just make the minimum payments, both in the number of years it would take to pay off that debt for the minimum payment, as well as if you were maybe to pay a little bit more, and what the total you would wind up paying for that unpaid balance should you only make the minimum payment, or if you were to make additional payments on top of the minimum for that debt. A couple other things relate to how the accounts are set up. Specifically, when you have the credit limit, if you want to be able to exceed that credit limit and then have the creditor hit you with a over the limit fee, you actually have to opt into that. It used to be that they would automatically allow you to exceed your credit limit and then they would just hit you with an over the limit fee, and you had to say, no, I don't want you to approve these attempts at making purchases if it's over the limit. Now the default is they must refuse that transaction unless you have told them, no, approve it, and yes, I will pay the over the limit fee. If the credit card company wants to set up on a college campus to try to get college students to sign up for it, they have to be 1,000 or more feet from it if they are trying to give away pizza or other type of freebies. If you're under 21, you need to have a co-signer on that credit card or have proof of adequate income that you will be able to make those payments and pay off that bill. The interest rates, if you get a new card, they can't raise the interest rate during the first year. It's locked in. They also can't raise the interest rate on you if you miss a payment with another creditor, not them. They can raise your interest rates, though. There are several situations where they might raise the rates. First off, if you miss a payment with them, they can generally raise the rate on you because now you're more risky to them. If they've given you a promotional rate and that promotional rate is ending, they can now raise the rate. Or if your rate is variable and it's going to be going up or down based on the market, but they do need to give 45 days notice on that. Some very expensive ways to get credit. One is a pawn shop. This is a collateralized loan. You take an item in, they give you cash in exchange for being able to hold on to that item. They're basically loaning you money. You will come back and pay back the money along with some simple interest, maybe 6% for 6 months, whatever it might be. If you don't show back up or repay that loan and the finance charge that you owe them, they'll take the item and they'll sell it. This is a very, very expensive way of borrowing money. Title loans are another expensive way of borrowing money. Here, you're collateralizing the loan again. What you're doing is you're pledging your car as the collateral. You take your title in, and now they have a claim against your car. You can pay that loan off in full, including the finance charge, maybe in a month, or maybe you can make arrangements to make monthly payments on that. And then if you stop making the payments, they will come and repossess your car. And again, this is a very expensive way of borrowing, not recommended. Payday lenders are another form of collateralized loan. Here you're going to give them a post-dated check as collateral, which they can then hang on to, and you come in and pay the loan and finance charge on the next payday in cash, or you can just say, all right, the money's there, go deposit the check. A lot of them will just allow you to pay the finance charge and continue to roll the loan over and then continue to pay those finance charges. That's how they make their money. And these, again, are very expensive ways of borrowing. Lastly is if you get your taxes done by a tax preparer and they want to give you a refund anticipation loan. In other words, an instant refund. It's not really instant because the money's not there yet from the federal government. They complete and file your taxes, but then essentially they're loaning you money. What they're doing is saying, okay, here's your refund, but we're going to not give you the amount that we're going to charge you as a finance charge. And in return, what you're going to do is sign over your refund to be deposited with them. So yes, you get your money now, but you pay a pretty significant finance charge as far as percentage of the refund when you do that. And again, it is a very expensive way of borrowing. This concludes this review.